Yep. But continuing with price stuff, I said this to you the other day, Ewok. So we're seeing every time this ecosystem seems to dip, which it did pretty hard a couple of days ago. I'm wondering if we've seen the bottom of HEX on Ethereum. 0.3 of a penny is a range that many people have been quoting as like oh yeah, that's got to be like the absolute bottom. And it has really seemed to not want to go below there every time the ecosystem drops down. And that has included the parity between HEX on Pulse and HEX on Ethereum tightening whenever the market goes down. Now, I'm not saying it gets to like razor thin, but it gets below that 2-to-1 almost every time. We saw a HEX on Pulse go down below 0.8 of a penny the other day, and a HEX on ETH only went to like 3.8 tenths or however you want to say that. So they seem to tighten every time that goes down, and it seems to show that there's just so much support for HEX on ETH at those levels. So I'm wondering if you think maybe the bottom may be in at least for that in our ecosystem. And Gwei, everybody's upset about like what the ETH prices will be in the bull market, and I totally understand that. Right now, though, like Gwei hasn't been a problem at all. It was single digits the other day.
Yeah, it's 10 right now.
10 right now on a weeknight. I mean, I know it's kind of, getting later, but yeah, still. And hey, people have said this, but I really believe it. I know ETH takes forever to do everything. What if fees do come down? I'm not saying they're ever going to get to PulseChain's levels, of course, but like, what if they do come down to a reasonable level? I could totally understand, PHEX, HEX, if you will, being the dominant one forever. I could understand that, but once again, I just can't see the other HEX, falling away from this ecosystem.
Well, that 0.3 of a penny was I remember hitting those levels on the way up, and it took a while to get by them. It would go above it, and then pull back and go above it and pull back. And I specifically remember for months at a time that was such resistance for us to even break through. And then when it would pull back, it acted as support too. So they're quite strong levels. And I think, we're seeing that now. But yeah, I'm hoping that it's somewhat bottomed. Again, I know Axis just showed up here in the chat.
I see that.
He didn't want to post his charts the other day when he was on with Corey, because I think he's predicting that they could go lower. Not saying that they will, but there's always a chance. That's the scary part. We hope it's bottomed, but there's always the room for even more pullback.
Yeah. It looks really good where it's at right now. But yeah, in terms of, I just think that people are really going to turn around some of their sentiment on the two hexes in this ecosystem whenever the market does come back. I just think we'll still see good performance from eHEX, and people have still been kind of counting their chickens before they hatch, or whatever that is. What do you think about what Let Me Know said there? I figured he'd have a comment for that.
It sure seems HEX is a laughing stock. That's what really turned me off the ecosystem. I think he means echo chamber kind of thing.
Ecosystem. I don't know. Maybe a combo. I don't know.
I got you.
Yeah, it could be both. Yeah.
Blind Maxie's screaming into an echo chamber with the same money getting moved. Yeah. There's still a very small amount of people. What are there? Just 130,000 stakers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's not many. You need the growth for things like this to really take off, and that's what the bull markets are really for. So, I don't know. A lot of the education and the reason I think the echo chamber was very strong was because of Richard and a lot of the facts that he was just throwing out there. It made a lot of us more conscious, a lot of us more educated on a lot of the speaking points. And, unfortunately, that has kind of been phased out a little bit by him not being as active on streams. But the whole ethos of it has really stuck around. You've got a lot of guys that are building the right way. You've got some cool things, and I think it's stuck pretty well. So the echo chamber, I think that goes away over time. You see it with PulseChain now. We have to be more realizing that, we can't be in an echo chamber anymore with Pulse. You've got to allow the building, and just be more selective of what you talk about. You can't get offended by things that you don't like, or you don't have to comment on it. And let it go. It all takes, it's all part of the network. It's all part of the buy and burn. It's everything. If we want to see Pulse Chain do well, then we've got to kind of allow that stuff to be here, even if you don't like it. Just like it's on Ethereum, if you don't like it, you don't talk about it. Well, it's kind of the same thing. We need it for the growth. So I think that goes away. I think people start to learn to ignore what they don't like. I hope so anyway. And then a lot of the fights and that stuff, again, will all go away with green candles. So not too concerned.